That Dad podcast goes live now. That Dad podcast goes live.
Rockin' Rad Dad Bods with opinions no one asked for on current events, politics, and all things dad. It's the Phat Dad Podcast with John, Rick, Casey, and Tyler.
Good evening, gentlemen. Welcome to Phat Dad Podcast. I put episode number 7. I think that's what it is. I didn't check. Has anybody got an official number count on what Phat Dad Podcast it is?
No.
It's more than one hand. I'm done.
No, I think it's number 8. So glad to have you aboard tonight. We're a little late since once again I proved to be the worst IT guy that does anything computer related for a job. So I take pride in that, though. I take pride in that. That's why I'm not a computer science. I'm information systems. I always didn't want to be labeled a nerd guy. So I guess now you guys know.
I don't think we have to worry about that.
You know that I'm not very good at this. So no, a lot of stuff going down. Just been since we last talked. It's been 2 weeks of just jam-packed stuff. So Tyler's running the show tonight. He's got the board. He is on the board tonight. So he's the man in control. So Tyler, we'll kick it over to you.
Oh, I've got to kick this thing off. All right. Well, again, like John said, welcome to the Phat Dad's Podcast, episode more than 5. I think is what we agreed on. First thing we wanted to talk about tonight was entering the no free time zone. John, what does that mean?
Yeah, so we are entering the no free time zone. We talked about it a couple weeks ago. Our kids are starting to get to that age where they're all in activities now. We got swim lessons, we got soccer, we got softball, we got church activities, we got it all going on. We went from smooth sailing, just take them to preschool or daycare every day, pick them up, go home, do whatever the hell you want. And now it's completely different world out there. I think you actually said you're doubled up on some nights, Tyler, even.
Yeah, we're 4 nights a week at swimming lessons, 2 nights a week at soccer, and then we add in Saturday morning soccer as well. So I guess that's what you mean. And my kids are only 5, 4, and 1. I don't know what we're gonna do as they keep getting older. But what I told my wife, no fear. It's only like the next 20 years, and we'll be through this. On a side note, though, I do get to hang out with Phat Dad John 4 nights a week now at the local rec center as we take our kids to swimming lessons. Most awkward thing that happens there, though, is when John wants to kind of join the ladies aerobics in the pool, and some of his comments are not fit for YouTube. So I'll leave it there.
I can see that.
Well, the other thing
doesn't surprise me.
Is, dissect on what we would do different if we were a government entity and running the rec center too. So don't forget that part of it. We always have to say how we would do things different. I mean, that's just what we do.
That seems like a stimulating conversation.
Sounds like locker room chat from men.
But yes.
How much time you got? We can start in on it if you want.
Maybe you should do an impromptu podcast live from the rec center.
My only comment is we don't do anything all winter for swim lessons, and nothing's going on for our age kids. Maybe there's some other stuff that goes on, but now that everything's going on, now we do swim lessons. And I know it's with kids' time and all that stuff on the swim team, but I don't know. We got this indoor pool. Last I looked, it's open from October to April. That's just my 2 cents of it, but I just do things different.
Oh, I'll switch the topic back to that no free time. People like warn me about this, that like it's just going to get worse and worse. Like, you think, oh man, you get that first baby and it's like, oh, like your life just changes. But you still have like sort of a rhythm, there's you and your spouse, and there's sort of 2 of you. Then you maybe add another kid. Then if you're crazy, you add a 3rd or a 4th or a 5th and a 6th. But now they're getting us in where their activities and there's still the baby. Like we're running around, we're cooking a week's worth of meals on the weekend. It's just insanity. And these running at night, John, no good for my diet. It makes it real easy for me to swing into McDonald's on my way home. So that's not good for me either.
Well, I was just impressed. You said you cooked a whole week's worth of meals. We get home at 5:15 and go, oh crap, we got to be out the door at 5 o'clock. Lunchables, go.
Yeah, I should add a small caveat in there. My wife cooks a week's worth of meals for our kids. Yeah, I don't really help much there.
Rick,
it's a fire hazard. For the record, it's a fire hazard.
I've been banned from the kitchen due to a couple small fires and some, near-death experiences. Those are stories for another day, though.
Rick, you've had some older kids, have been kind of through this or the start of this before. I mean, got any advice for us?
Yeah, old man Rick, we need some advice. We want some sage wisdom.
I would recommend talking your kids into not doing activities. That's the oldest is, we have to like force her to do any sort of activity. So we've been pretty lucky on that front lately. Actually, when they were younger, the two oldest, they were doing figure skating, and that ended up being a lot of running around and a lot of trips and weekends gone and that kind of stuff. But they've stopped doing that, and the middle one is big into gymnastics now. But luckily for us, that's like right after school, so she takes the old Palace Transit right over to the gym, and we pick her up around 6 o'clock, and that's it. So yeah, we've been pretty lucky, especially after, with COVID, there's not as many school activities and that kind of stuff going on after school. But yeah, I would just recommend the whole talk them out of it, bribe them, offer them money and presents if they don't do activities. That's my advice.
Dad of the year right there, folks. Dad of the year.
I don't know if
I didn't say it would be good advice.
I don't know if we were looking for that advice, but we'll note. It's noted. It's noted.
I think this goes into another great dad moment to bring up, and maybe Rick can give us a little more advice. But here's another thing. I'm going to pick on John again at swimming lessons. John is that dad. He's literally on the edge of the pool, clapping, cheering on, making sure his daughters are doing all the strokes correctly. They're diving in properly. Where do you guys fall on the sports dad mode? Are you on the sidelines in good behavior? Are you yelling to the ref, yelling at the coach? Casey, I know you're not to that stage yet, but have you thought about that? Because that's gone through my mind a couple of times. Let's say the rest of you fat dads, where do you come in on sports dad mode?
Well, I am the guy in right field distracting the right fielder. So hopefully my kid can get a hit or whatever. I tell them that their pants are on wrong, their hat's crooked, maybe they're ugly fat. Yeah, I will run them down into the ground, no hesitation whatsoever. So, and kids are relatively fragile early on. So I feel like I can break them down mentally and my kid can succeed. So that's where I'm at when it comes to any type of event going forward, at least until the age of 16. So check.
There is a disclaimer for all of our listeners at the beginning of this podcast. It said these are opinions that really no one asked for, and essentially that no one should listen to. Yeah. This may be the worst fatherly advice podcast of all time. John, save us.
Well, I think I'll probably be the coach out there. I'll be the coach. So I'll be probably Mr. Positivity, Mr. Can't yell at the refs or the officials or the other team.
Boo.
Uh,
Boo.
and that's probably the best place for me because if I was in the stands, you got to know that I would be coming at the refs or the officials hard, the other parents, all that. So hopefully I'll be the coach, and that will maybe keep me from yelling at everybody else. But I mean, come on. When I'm watching, like when Katie's brother was in high school playing sports, come on, you knew I was yelling at everybody, refs, coaches, you know it.
A little background, to back John up there. I used to go to my girls and say, "Hey, we're going over to John's to watch the football game." And they're like, "Do we have to? He's so loud. He just yells at the TV all the time."
Yeah,
that's a true story.
Me.
Not my proudest story here, but so last year we didn't get to do any sports because, like we were talking about, they're essentially were all canceled for, especially for real young kids. But 2 years ago, we had little kicker soccer. These are like 3 and 4 year olds. And after the first soccer, my wife soccer practice games that they did, my wife did have to sit me down and say that either I'm not allowed to go or I need to change place. So it's not looking good for me unless I go the Rick route and just encourage them not to go. Otherwise, I'll probably be banned from several sporting events. Is the way it's looking. I gotta do better.
Your wife gave you the warning? You got a verbal warning, or was it
the
a
little
written warning?
kickers? Yeah, the little kickers.
Mm-hmm. You get a note on the table that next morning at breakfast, a little note that said,
Might have been in the car on the way home, John.
Oh.
It might have been in the car on the way home. I didn't think I was out of line. I didn't think that coach knew what they were doing. But I guess looking back on it, maybe I was a bit hard on them.
The sports that my girls have been doing, ice skating, and then now with gymnastics, I know very little about. And so
Rick, I'm gonna stop you right there. That doesn't mean you're not allowed an opinion. That's just what I'm gonna say there.
I just I sit back and watch, and with can't the judges are up out of the way, so, and you don't get the scores right away. At least the ice skating you didn't, so you couldn't boo them directly. And honestly, I had no idea what was going on most of the time, so I couldn't really have much to say. But I will say, when I was our youngest brother, I'm 9 years older than he is, so like one of my first years back from college, John and I coached his baseball team, his 11, 12-year-old baseball team. I think he was 11, and I'll tell you what, I tried to be pretty low key as a coach, to be encouraging and not to get too upset and get the kids down or whatever, because it's just 11, 12-year-old baseball. But
Terrible
I still
advice, but okay.
I still
Not just baseball, Rick. Anyways, go on.
But I still think about times where the opposing team were doing things that were just cheap and unfair, and it still just drives me crazy. Like if I would have been in the stands at that point, I probably would have yelled and screamed, because it's just that nothing bugs me worse is when you're have little kids sports and you got the guy telling his kid to quick pitch it. So
sweep the leg. Leg.
It just drives me crazy. Like, it's just like, I'm like, just let these kids have fun. It's like the kid who you're throwing the ball to when he's not even looking is not enjoying that experience. So what's the point?
Well, there we have it, folks. 4 vastly different opinions. What other moments in dadhood do we want to talk about this evening before we jump in to current events? And we're gonna have forewarning, right? There's not really a lot to talk about current events. There's just nothing going on.
Pretty slow.
The world is just running super smoothly.
Well, I just got back from the spring concert for the 2 oldest girls. That was quick, fun, the appropriate length. Band played, choir played, show choir did their thing. My oldest is in show choir. Watched her perform tonight. Then last week she performed at the the high school's dinnerless theater this year. They have guest performances, so she did that one night. So pretty proud moment there. Enjoyed watching her do that and see how much she enjoyed it. So that's been a pretty cool experience last 2 weeks.
That's awesome. Casey, John, anything else? Anything else from YouTube?
I got nothing good this week.
My daughter's 1.5 going on 3. And you
Let's
guys
be honest,
all know what
Casey,
that's like.
She's 1.5 going on 13.
Yeah, well, she is fun right now. So it's she's completely bipolar. And 1 minute you're just having a blast. And 13 seconds later, she just drops to the floor and starts crying and throwing a fit. And it's a fake cry. It's a fake cry, guys. It's fake. And she'll stop for a second and look up at you. And then she'll put her head back down and start crying again. That's what I'm experiencing right now. And it's a lot of fun. So, yes.
Reminds me a lot of her dad. All right, well, let's jump into our current events portion tonight. Another episode of Chewing the Fat with the Phat Dads. First thing up, not a lot of news coverage on this, and that's what we try to jump into, either the hot button issues or those things that are kind of flying under the radar. But Israel has done a couple of cyber attacks on Iran. One 4 days ago, that essentially Iran's main nuclear facility was shut down, which caused them a lot of problems, a large-scale blackout, and probably set back their nuclear program 6 to 9 months. Israel's come online, taking credit for it. Phat Dads, what do you think about that? And this is actually, again, there's something that I haven't seen a lot of the news. I don't know if you guys have, but this is like one in a series of events over the last several months of these cyber attacks. And Iran has tried to fire back. They've done some things on some Israeli water plants or water treatment centers. Phat Dads, what do you think about warfare in 2021?
Yeah, hey, it's all fair. We're not giving Israel a lot of support right now or a lot of backing. So, they got to do what they got to do to stay alive over there. I think we made some headway with the Trump administration on making Israel our strong again and our allies, and I think that's going away. So. Good for them. I mean, they got to do what they got to do. Rick, isn't it somewhere in the Bible where if Israel falls, isn't that kind of a sign of the end of the world? Isn't that a sign of the end times?
I'll let Preacher John take that one. I'll just agree
There's
with
something
you.
I can't remember. Does that ring a bell to anybody else? There's something with that, and I can't remember it now. But
yeah, I believe there's a passage in Revelations that refers to something like that, where I believe actually it's not actually spelled out that way, but it's sort of referred back that yes, if we let Israel fall, that's sort of the sending some dark times there.
Yeah. So anything that Israel does to stay going, good with me.
Phat Dad, Iowa.
Yeah, so comments? Israel, wow, a lot to digest here with just that one little statement. Israel is our greatest ally in the Middle East. Under the Obama administration, we essentially abandoned them. We strengthened the Palestinians, Hamas, all those terror organizations. I think Israel's going to do what's best for their nation and to protect themselves. And do I cheer that on? Not necessarily. Is it something that that I understand? Absolutely. And do they have the right to do that stuff? Well, the Iranians would say no. But Israel's a force, and militarily, they're not somebody to mess with. Everybody joins the military at the age of 18, serves 2 years minimum. When you start going back into the 60s and 70s, when 7 nations, Egypt, Iran, Syria, Iraq, all those countries attacked Israel. Israel put a hurting on everybody. So while it's something that they have to do, I think, to exist, and they have the capacity to do that, I'm not going to disavow their actions. I'm not going to condemn them. I'm going to continue to be an ally to them and support them the best that we can. Because without Israel in the Middle East, we are flying blind in a lot of cases. So. They have to protect their people, and they're going to continue to do so. And they're a force. They're a force.
Rick, this also, the thing that's kind of interesting about this is the fact that there is this kind of cyber warfare back and forth. But this is also, in some cases, a hot war at the same time, because about a week and a half ago, this isn't necessarily confirmed. I don't think Israel's actually taking credit for this yet. But there's a mine attack on an Iranian fighter in the freighter in the Red Sea. This freighter has been long claimed to be a command and control vessel that's been used in the war in Yemen. Someone, most likely Israel, took that baby out. This also stands in contrast to the new administration, the Biden administration here, where we're actually talking about, and I think in the U.S., of easing nuclear restrictions and kind of going back to the old Iran deal that President Obama had put in place. Is Israel kind of going against that? We actually have to send our ambassadors over into Tel Aviv and kind of walk through like what this means. And we had a little bit of a joint press conference where Israel said, hey, whatever deal America makes, we're sure it's not going to be one that's going to allow Iran to further their nuclear ambitions. But it really looks like, the U.S. trying to make a little bit more friends with Iran and maybe distance themselves from Israel, and Israel really playing maybe a more active role than what we're used to over the last few years, both on the cyber front and then through your clandestine type military actions. Any other thoughts or comments? Is that good for the world or bad for the world?
Go for it, Rick.
Well, I don't think we should be supporting, countries who pose a threat, and that's my big question, right? Is Iran legitimately a threat to us and to our allies? And then on the flip side of that is, if the answer is yes, I just don't understand the half measures and the those type of things that we're doing back and forth with sanctions and whatnot. Like if they're a danger and they're a threat and they're worth our time to deal with, and in my mind we just deal with it and move on. I just the geopolitical world maybe is just beyond me, but I just don't understand.
Does the Iranian government and leadership, are they good people? Is the caliphate good to people? Are they, and when you say threat, are they a threat to democracy? Are they a threat to our republic? The answer is unequivocally and absolutely yes. They fund terrorist organizations. They stone and throw gay people off of roofs. Women have no rights under Sharia law. Everything that we stand for as a country, their laws are essentially opposing. I don't think the leadership or the government, the caliphate in Iran are good people. That's my personal opinion. So I think they're vile people that want power and money, and they're willing to kill people to do it. They do it all the time.
Casey, I know you got some interesting opinions on like our libertarian friends. They would probably tell us that the Middle East is the Middle East problem, but why
Yes.
why does the United States need to be? Why should we pick a side? Why do we need
You're right.
to buddy up with
You're
Iran?
right.
Why do we need to support Israel? What good is that to the United States of America?
Sure. So
Why are they right or why are they wrong?
yeah, they're both actually, I think. And I've thought about this a lot lately. So I did first off, and we circle back here real quick. Thank you guys for having me on again. Sorry I wasn't here 2 weeks ago. I missed it. I was gone due to work. I'm an agronomist. I work with farmers and it's springtime. So it's extremely busy this time of year for me. And I'm very fortunate to be able to be a part of this and get invited back time after time. So I do appreciate that. But yes, so the libertarian view, I'm actually a libertarian. I do not like or want war. I do believe in deterrence through strength of arms. The libertarian approach is pull all of our troops out, right? I mean, big scale, we're talking 50,000 foot view. Pull all of our troops out wherever we're fighting wars everywhere else and bring everybody home. And when you sit back and think of that, you're like, hell yeah, man. Our boys shouldn't be over there fighting for oil. We shouldn't be fighting for money or we don't need any more land. Okay, you're right. Those are righteous causes to not be fighting. The problem is that isolationism has never, that I know of, never in history of recorded man progressed a country further. You look at China in the 1800s, isolationists. When they got to the 1900s, they were so far behind on everything that they essentially killed 60 million people to try to catch up, and they're doing all sorts of intellectual property theft now to even stay afloat. You look at just every country that you can think of, isolationism is not in America's best interest. And I hate meddling in other people's affairs, but unfortunately, as the United States, we need to be a part of the world. And we need to be a part of those discussions because those discussions and alliances even, those bear fruit to the greatness of our country and the greatness of our people. And you look at the southern border where people are just flocking in right now. Everybody says we want to be a part of the free, right? We're the freest country in the world. We can say whatever you want, essentially get away with whatever you want because district attorneys are dropping all charges on anybody nowadays. But the libertarian view. Sure, but the libertarian view I struggle with when it comes to this. And then you take this a little bit further. I'm sorry I'm dragging on here, and I want you guys to comment on this. To take this a little bit further, so isolationism, not being involved in other people's affairs, what does that do in the political scheme of things, right? So libertarians are essentially do not fight unless you're attacked. But I think they take that into their politics as well. And libertarianism saying, oh, I'm not a Republican. I'm not a Democrat. And therefore I have no stake in the game that's being played right now. And they take this nonchalant approach that pisses me right the hell off that we don't have to be involved in our politics. And we don't, I think both of them are bad. So why do I care? Why do I vote? Why do I do this? Why do I care what somebody else does? And in the grand scheme of things, that's hurting. That disconnect, that inability to act in discourse hurts the libertarian view and cause. I want to be the same way, naturally, I want to be a pacifist and I want small limited government, just like libertarians view, but they're losing the fight. They're losing the argument because they will not engage. And that's why you only see 2% of the damn popular vote go to libertarians because they lack leadership. And then they lack the balls to stand up for what they think and tell somebody to their face that, hey, you know what, you're wrong. Your communism's wrong. Your socialism's wrong. You're hurting our country. You're stealing our money. You're giving power to people who don't earn it. And you're leaving the small guy out to crap in the streets and live in a tent. So that's a problem with libertarians right now. And I've had at least 3 weeks. Tyler and I talked a couple weeks ago about this. I've had at least almost 3 weeks to digest libertarians. And the more I think about them, the more pissed off I get. And the more I believe that I am not one. And there was for about 2 years there during the end of Trump's administration, I believed I was going more and more libertarian. And I'm not. I'm more and more conservative. And I'm not Republicans are big. They're a whole different scheme, and I hate even being involved with that name. I'm a conservative, and I'm willing to fight for those views, and I'm not going to back down. I'm not going to run to some other country. I'm not going to, I'm going to stand up for what I think's right. I'm going to say what I think. And if somebody's offended by it, I don't know, go fly a kite. So that's my
But Casey, I don't think it's just libertarian like you're saying. Where's the fight out through, the conservative or just the people in the middle that think are sick of these people treating us bad or
Right.
doing wrong policies, or making
Yep.
decisions to hurt people.
They're scared and they lack backbone.
Yeah,
They won't
it's
do
not
anything.
just libertarian side. It's both sides. It's the middle of the road Republican saying when their Republican representatives don't do the right thing, they don't call them out. And same thing on the Democratic side. When the middle of the road people, the average day people, and the Democrat leaders do something that's not right, nobody's calling them out. There's no accountability in that.
You're seeing that everywhere too, like the Trumpers, right? The mega people, they're the same way. Trump did nothing wrong. Well, Trump in his last year did a lot of wrong. Medical tyranny and communism, for instance. The stuff that he's done in the last year, well, his first 3 years, a lot of his policies I personally like. They were conservative policies for the most part. This last year, not that great. It's people that are too chicken crap. There's me being nice, guys. I'm being nice to call out the hypocrisy and that stuff. And I fall under that. There's hypocrisy on my end too at times. Don't get me wrong. And it takes me to step back. It might take me a week to digest what I said, did, believe, and to chew the fat and say, hey, this is actually wrong. And what people are not doing in this discourse, and libertarians, while they're saying I'm not going to take part in discourse, and Republicans are going to say, oh, they're going to complain, but go back and hide in their holes. Nobody's admitting, being wrong, because that shows weakness. And there's a lot of weakness coming out of the libertarian side. And I hate saying that because they're good people. They're freedom loving people. They're freedom to the core. And that's where I'm at in my life, but they just won't stand up for anything other than, oh, it's total freedom. Oh, leave me alone. I'll leave you alone. Well, that's not going to happen. Get a set of balls, do something. So,
well, folks, you got to hit pretty close to the mark to get them all riled up like that.
I actually heard a conversation on a show, and they were talking about it's sort of the same thing. And I know this is going to be maybe sacrilege here to compare the two, but like the true, what you would call progressives in Washington, we, in my opinion, the Pelosi and Biden and Schumer, you can't, they try to tote that progressive line a little bit, but they're not the true, what I would call progressives, the Bernie Sanders, the Elizabeth Warrens, those people. And they kind of said the same thing. Their point is that, Biden gets elected and everybody's thinking all these progressive policies are going to get jammed through. But for the most part, they don't. They play a little lip service to them, and then they go to the side. And it's sort of the same sort of thing that, Casey was saying with the libertarians, is where they have their agenda and their purpose or their ideology, their goal, their movement, I guess, maybe. And that's where they're just playing under this. They're hoping to play to that strength, right? And they're opposite sides, right? Obviously progressive and libertarians, but they don't engage politically. They don't play the game because they just believe in their movement and their ideas and expect those to carry them through, where they're not engaging and playing the game and making things happen. I just thought that was an interesting point, and how it kind of, you kind of see it mirroring on both sides.
Preacher John, you get the last word on this topic.
I want to hear Tyler's take. Take.
Yeah, Tyler, you need to give us a little bit you need to give us at least a 30-second take.
Libertarians.
You want me to have the final take? So you want
libertarians
opinion on Team America World Police. Is that a good thing or not? To an extent, yeah. I do feel like that America's involvement, this is like historically, right? This is undeniable. There's lots of bad things that you can point to and that people do point to. They love to jump on and point to the areas where we go wrong. But the fact that we took a different view post World War II than what we did post World War I, and we jumped into the world stage. We did. We became sort of, in a lot of ways, the police forces of the world. There's less wars, less people have died, less poverty in the world because of that. I know some people would definitely cringe at that and disagree, but it really is undeniable that the world is more stable. More business is able to be done across the world. I think we had more technological advances because of that stability. I think it's a good thing. I mean, I really do. I think we've seen it when we've taken steps back. It's not good that you see rise of nationalism in those times, which again, historically in history does repeat itself, whether we like it or not. It tends to lead to massive bloodshed, and I think we can all agree that we really don't need another war, especially on a large scale, World War style. I'd like to keep my kids out of that. So that's where I land on that. Now, at the same time, I do think it would be cool if if the countries where we are coming in, we're providing military support to large swaths of the globe, that we are that there's a joint funding of that doesn't necessarily have to come all on the backs of the American taxpayer.
Well, libertarians say you should pull out entirely, Tyler. You not only should you not bring troops, but we should not be funding Israel. Many libertarians think that should not be funding Israel, funding our allies who help us in every capacity of war.
Super easy to say that. Super easy to say that, Casey.
Exactly.
That's a dark world in reality.
Yes.
That's a very dark place that I doubt we would want to be a part of. We've been there. We've been there.
We tried it. We tried it in World War One. Figured out that we had to get involved.
In the 30s.
Tried it in World War II again. Figured out we had to be involved. So it's we're the newest superpower. All the rest of those countries have long histories of killing each other, and I think we're the newest and most prosperous. So we got to be the police force. Last thing I want to say,
it's not always pretty. There's some eggs get broken in the process. There's ugly spots.
Yeah.
But I think in general, I really do. I firmly believe this, that the world is in a better place.
Yeah. Last thing I want to say is I read books. So I forgot I read these back in the day. So shout out to Roxy, my English teacher. But Joel Rosenberg, he's an American Israeli author. He writes some really, really good books about the Middle East. He's got a 3-part series. It starts out, I think, with the 12th Imam, if I'm remembering right. So if you guys are looking for some really, really good books, really, really good author, Joel Rosenberg. I highly recommend him.
John, with the book recommendation, we'll have a book club, Phat Dad Book Club, coming to you soon. All right,
an audio book.
All right, next two in the Phat topic, because these are going way too slow for us tonight. But these are good topics, and we do actually have a lot to cover. But the next two sort of maybe fly in the face of something that Rick just said a couple of minutes ago, where we were talking about how a lot of times there's fear when Biden comes in that, oh, are we going to embrace all these liberal policies? Well, let's talk about it. Rick. Defunding the police, and I think these are almost two topics, and they blend in very nicely to the next thing we want to discuss after this. But we're hearing lots of discussion around defunding the police, fundamentally transforming the U.S. Constitution and the government due to racism, and the police force has racist tendencies and is founded in racism. That's why we keep having white cops shoot people of color. What do you guys think? I mean, this is a hot topic. I mean, obviously the police shootings that does keep happening. We have those. We've got riots going on in Minnesota currently due to another shooting. We got a trial ongoing in Minnesota. There are massive calls. There were massive calls this summer to defund the police. Now it's coming up again, and it's getting some major traction, major headlines from your traditional news media, your AOC types, the progressive arm of the Liberal Party. are they going to do this? Is this something that's actually going to happen? And yeah, Fat Dad, chew on that.
Well, I don't see them doing that. There's going to be a lot of talk about it, a lot of playing to the base on it. But I don't think they'll defund the police. I think there's too many. There's too
What
much.
about the ones they already did it? Minnesota already did it.
Sure.
Then what? And then what?
Yeah.
Then they offered $40 million more to hire more police officers. So,
I mean, I just don't think it's going to be a widespread trend. In actuality, I think there's gonna be a lot of talking about it and bluster about it, but I don't think it'll happen on a large scale. And I'll be the first to say that I think that there's definitely things that I think we can reform in the police and how they handle things and how they, how situations are either escalated or de-escalated, and when it's appropriate to use certain types of force and all that kind of stuff. I think there's definitely topics we can discuss about that in depth, but and with the current situation, I think the current shooting that's with the, she thought she had a taser or whatever. We have to be able to look at these things on their own merit without pulling them into the instant racism and that kind of thing. And so hopefully cooler heads will prevail. I don't think we will have a widespread defunding of the police. But I've been wrong before.
Your president is on the record of saying, your constitutional rights are not guaranteed.
Yeah, I think the whole defund the police thing is just part of their narrative. It's another thing that we keep hearing it. It becomes the truth, and it becomes how they change and how they fundamentally change the country in a whole. So a lot of this stuff I don't think they truly believe they can make it happen. But if you say it and say it and say it and say it, it might help push another narrative that you think can make happen. So I'm sick. I know I've said it before. I'm sick of, just because I am a white male, making that means I'm racist, and I am racist, and the race card coming out again on this. Like Rick said, we got to look at this by each case by case basis. And yes, there is racism, and we're never going to get over that. That's just what we're always going to have. You're always going to have that small fringe people. But to keep playing that card, it's not helping either side. It's just dividing us more and more. And there is systematic racism, but you don't fix that by calling all these cases a white versus black issue. That's all I have.
So I'm going to challenge you guys on that thought process. In our next topic, with the cat out of the bag, we're going to talk about the left's call to increase to add 4 more Supreme Court justices. So there's a reason why you're going to do that. Why you want to pack the court? It's so that you can pass laws that you need an activist group in the Supreme Court to make legal and to then change the Constitution. We've seen them defund the police. Casey pointed out to what we would common sense would tell you, to horrible results. But it's been done in Portland. We're seeing it at Baltimore. You've got it in Minnesota. Our ambassador to the UN just went to the UN this week, told the UN that the original documents of the United States of America are founded through injustice, through social injustice, because of the sin of slavery. Literally saying, hey, we're an imperfect union. And she's talking about the Constitution, fellas. Like, she's saying that our Constitution, she's implying that our Constitution is invalid because it was written during a time when slavery was prevalent in the United States of America. She was speaking to the body of the Human Rights Council, which includes the countries of China, which we've discussed wonderful human rights. Cuba.
Yeah, the Uyghurs are really happy over there.
In North Korea. And she told these folks that the United States needed to engage in trailblazing groups like yours in order for us to improve. These are the people who are in control right now. They're the people who are looking at now making essentially a death grip on the judicial branch. I don't know. I don't know if we can just sit on the sidelines and say anymore that, well, historically, there's lots of talk. We rally up our kind of the extremes of our base. But boy, it surely seems like the extremes are running the show right now.
Interesting. You guys are kind of all over the place here, and I'm going to kind of try to break it down, spend maybe 2 or 3 minutes on each one. Defunding the police, terrible idea. In fact, all major cities are seeing crime rates, violent crime rates increase exponentially. And I don't know what those that data is, but somewhere between 80 and 100%.
Violent crime is up across the board in the United States.
Absolutely. You defunding the police and bringing in social workers. I think there was one case, and I don't know, it might be in like New Jersey or something like that, where they turned them into, they defunded the police department, but they didn't defund it, right? They just set a few new guidelines, like police officers need to live in their neighborhoods that they patrol and stuff like that. And it's actually working. Crime rates went down, and I think it was, God, if I heard the name, it's on the East Coast, but defunding the police does nothing. In fact, it leaves the most vulnerable exposed. I think that anytime response times have gone down or increased, however you want to look at it. I think what the average used to be like 7 minutes on a response time. Now it's 15 minutes in major cities. You're looking at police officers quitting police forces. So you're taking your most experienced people. They're quitting police forces and going elsewhere, maybe to smaller towns, smaller cities. Maybe they're just retiring, taking that early retirement package. And you're seeing them have to hire more inexperienced police officers, rush them through a system of training, and then go out there and try to make critical thinking decisions that happen in seconds. And it takes a lot of training. Yes, and it takes a lot of training to do that. I think right now, what you're hearing from the left about defunding the police because of racism, I think they're lying. And you look at a town near me, 60,000 people, very diverse group of people, both economically, socially, racially, very, very diverse. And you hear the police chief and the mayor come out saying, hey, if you want to change your neighborhood, apply. But they're not getting those applications, from local people still. And those same people are out there crying to, make their neighborhoods need to be better and not forgotten and everything else. So I think that's a double-edged sword there. There's I don't know, 1 to 5% of bad police officers out there. They need to be identified. They need to be fired. The police union is too strong. Those people aren't getting fired. That's why you're seeing Derek Chauvin out there with 21 cases of it's not abuse, but infractions on his record or whatever it is. That he's not a good person. He probably shouldn't be a police officer. Did he kill George Floyd? That has yet to be determined by court. But there are some good police officers out there, and I do support them, and they do have a right to defend themselves. And you look at last year's statistics, 2020 statistics on unarmed African Americans killed by police officers, 31. Out of 350 million people in the United States, 36 million roughly are African American. Chelsea Handler went on Twitter saying, if I was a black person, I would not want to be pulled over knowing that I have a 50-50 chance of living or dying. Well, actually, it's 1 in a million if you do the math, a little over 1 in a million. And I don't know how that turns out, being struck by lightning or whatever, but it doesn't happen very often. And when it does happen, and it's wrong, those people there should be repercussions for that. So I've spent enough time on defunding the police. You guys know where I stand on. I support the police. And I tell you what, I can be anti-riot anti-destroying property and still be pro-police officer, or against bad police officers, or against systematic racism where it does exist, right? I can be all of that. I don't care what the left says. I don't have to believe lockstep with the party line, the narrative. So fundamentally transforming the U.S. Constitution and increasing the Supreme Court seats to 13, because there's now 13 districts. So that is their big justification, that they believe seats in the Supreme Court, the left believes seats, and I've been arguing with people on Twitter on this, that those seats were stolen by Republicans. How dare they steal them? Well, they didn't, right? They played politics. And if it wasn't for Harry Reid in 2013 ending the judicial filibuster, you would have actually had grounds to stand on and oppose these nominations. This happened by Democrats, and it is their fault. And the Republicans are not strong enough to stand up and say, hey, we need to reinstate the damn filibuster back into judicial appointees. And now, they're kind of reaping what they sowed too. So the left is on full offensive right now. And there's zero, and I do mean zero, leadership in the Republican Party. They are all old, and the ones that are young are extremely radical right. Scare me. So I look at the Republican side right now. It's not a strong party, deeply fractured. And it always has been deeply fractured, because depends on the type of freedom that you love. But it is not strong. It is not strong at all. And they need to find some common ground, and where they will find common ground is on the Second Amendment and the executive orders that have been passed, and them coming after people's guns. You want to see, 80 million people come together. That's the number one issue. And I have Democrat friends who are strong Second Amendment supporters, and you guys do too. So that's what's going to unite us. And we need something big like that to unite us. But the next year, you go through this year into the election year next year, Democrats are going to run rampant right now. They're going to do whatever they want. And I hate telling you this, elections have consequences, and there ain't a damn thing you, I, or anybody else can do about it. We can cry, but they're going to ramrod their stuff through. Republicans are going to win by a super majority, and then they're going to start, playing politics again. And eventually, it's just cat and mouse, and we're going to have a kangaroo court system, with 17 Supreme Court justices in 4 years if Biden and Harris lose. So, unfortunately, our political system's becoming corroded to the core, and it's bad right now. So
Tyler, if you want to advance 3 slides, I'd like to we'll skip over my stuff right there. Yeah. So these are the Yahoos that came out today. I think I'm missing the one. Now look up at Jerry Nadler in the right hand corner, and look at Penguin from the Batman movies. I mean, yes, no, some sort of resemblance. If you've seen the guy, a very short guy, pretty round, just like the Penguin. I mean, maybe it's just me, but I
10 years ago, Jerry Nadler was a lot more like the Penguin when he was extremely fat.
He was a lot bigger dude. Yeah, you want to talk about a fat dad.
Right. He belongs here. Let's bring him on. Let's talk to him. I'm going to put it out right now. Come on, Jerry.
Yeah.
Have a good old conversation.
Yeah, no, Todd, if you go to the next slide too, on the Supreme Court packing, the Supreme Court job approval, actually out of the 3 branches, the Supreme Court gets the most favorable job approval ratings out of anybody. And one of the big things they came out today, can't think, Markey, is it Ed Mark, whatever it is, the Yahoo from Massachusetts, said that we need to fix it because it's broken and the trust of the people is not there. Actually, it is. Actually, people, I mean, if you talk, this is just across the board, Republican, Democrats, you get 58% approval rating out of all parties. That's pretty good. The system's not broken. Now, are they trying to do a dog and pony show because Biden actually named or put an executive order last Friday for a council or a committee to start studying the Supreme Court? Are they hiding that and trying to do the show? I don't know, but just to point out the fact that I don't think it's broken, and I don't think the people don't trust the Supreme Court.
You got to go back to something Casey was saying. I think the things like the judicial filibuster and now this court packing thing, what we're seeing, I think, is we're seeing a lot of these kind of norms, these longstanding traditions in Washington that kind of held together, the process and the civility of what was happening there. We see those going away, and we see the parties one-upping each other. They put 4 in now. Next time the Republicans are in, they're going to put 3. They're going to put 3 in, and then the Democrats are going to they're going to get to the point where all they're doing is passing laws to increase the Supreme Court and doing confirmation hearings, right? Like, and taking away the filibuster. These things are in place to put some controls and some civility around these processes. And I think we're just seeing those deteriorate cycle after cycle as the parties try to one up each other and grab more power or take power, the tug of war kind of thing that's going on. And then to John's point with the approval rating, people look at the decisions that the Supreme Court makes, the major decisions, and look at who flips to one side or the other. Sure, you're going to have some of those judges that are always on one side or the other, but a lot of these judges, I think, if you would ask the people who were for them and to get nominated, would a lot of times would be disappointed with them on a lot of their decisions, and that happens both ways. So to say that it's broken or it's slanted one way or the other, I don't think the truth bears that out.
Look at the election fraud stuff that went before the Supreme Court, and they turned it down. And Trump appointed 3 of those people, and 2 of them voted against it entirely. You know what I mean? 2 Republican or conservative justices. So Kavanaugh, which had everybody just in an uproar the entire time. I mean, he voted against, looking into that specific instance alone. So it's, actually two of the 3 Supreme Court justices for Trump actually have sided against Trump multiple times. So I think the court is still sticking with the rule of law as the final say, as opposed to maybe partisanship. So.
Yeah, they want to keep saying Roe versus Wade, all this stuff. It's all going to get, oh my gosh, what is it, 6-3 right now? Liberal or conservative versus liberals. I'm not sure. And you just never see it. Roberts went with Obamacare. He had a chance to kill that dead, and he didn't do it. Where the liberals complaining that back then that he wasn't on their side. So it's just it's insane. It is absolutely insane. Like Rick was talking to. So if they get 4 on now, then we get 4. It's a dog and pony show. Then we add DC as a state. Now, some Republican states we're going to have to start breaking into so we can play the electoral college around more and stuff. And it's just a slippery slope. And it's happening so fast. It's happening so fast that people can't even keep up right now with what's going on and the changes that were made. I think probably for 150, 200 years of our country, stuff happens slow. Slow changes, slow things that happen, and now, man, it's rapid fire, and we don't even know where to look.
Yeah, I'm a little bit afraid. I think even hearing you guys, maybe I'm an extremist. I don't know, but to me, this is step 1. You put 4 activist judges who view the Constitution as a living, breathing document, and who probably are going to view the Constitution in the view of it being a racist, flawed document that should be changed or thrown out, that are going to be pro DC statehood, pro Puerto Rico statehood, pro allowing more and more immigrants, both legal and illegal, into the country, which is obviously fundamentally changes the voting rights in border states. And I think your Second Amendment, you already have a president who does not like it. It's already told you that just because it's an amendment to the Constitution doesn't mean it's safe. I think that's in jeopardy. And you have 2 new states in there. I think that's easier to get 2 new states than it is to break up a Texas. odd. You may never see a Republican held Senate or White House ever again. I mean, yeah, that's 74 million Americans essentially disenfranchised. To me, I think it's something that we don't want our head in the sand. You guys said, well, I think they're just, we talk to defund the police, and I think it all bleeds into this. I don't think they're joking, fellas. I don't think they're kidding. I think they really view. I think that there is a lot, and I believe there's a large chunk of the country who now has been indoctrinated to this thought process that the country's a bad place. The United States of America is bad. Our history is bad, and it all should be fundamentally, radically changed as fast as possible.
And you got the media on their side too.
Everything.
Really scary.
Schools, the culture war. If this happened, we talked about the culture war. If you get 4 radical activist judges, you guys walked through a couple of different cases where the Supreme Court didn't side on with the president who put them in place. What was all of those things had in common? They didn't side with the Republican that put them in office. George Bush, Donald Trump. Show me an Obama appointee that didn't side with an Obama law, or if Joe Biden gets that 4, I can guarantee you those will be 4 activist, fundamentalist judges that will be put in there. I believe that in my heart and soul. And these aren't, and this is the problem, right? Conservatives believe the Constitution as it's written. These are the rules. It's black and white. We vote on black and white. So it doesn't matter if you're a Republican or Democrat when you go before the court. It's what is this legal or not? Their politics aren't as swayed into it as much. Again, maybe this is my politics still do. I don't feel the left-leaning judges operate in the same way. They view it differently because they have more activism and they believe the Constitution is a living, breathing document that should be changed to reflect more modern times. And I think that's dangerous. I think this is a damn good document that served us really, really well. And to think that we're just going to throw this out right now when we're embracing this religion of wokeism, I think it's a mistake. I do not think it serves us well.
No, and the conservatives, their fight is to keep things the same, and that's probably going to be the hardest fight that you can do, especially right now. Like you said, it's they believe in the Constitution. I was thinking about this the other day. I used to think it probably was the other way around. Probably the conservatives had it easier keeping things the same because it was hard. People didn't like change, but now it seems to be the opposite way. The conservatives and probably even the libertarians at some point, they're going to fight like hell these next 5 to 20 years to keep things the way they are. That doesn't say there can't be small minor changes, but like you're saying, they're looking at the complete overhaul. This is their time. This has probably been in place since the 70s, and then their master plan, I think they think it's go time right now. This is it. This is go time.
Jen, I think you and I talked about this too on some of the tweets that were shared on around Easter and things like that. We talk about culture and the Biden administration and now the Supreme Court packing. I feel like we're in the middle in defund the police. I feel like it's all part of the large culture war that's taking place essentially for the soul of America. And I'm going to put you on the spot there if we can, share some of your thought. You sent me a tweet that you saw online. You care to jump into that?
Are we talking about the Raphael Warnock tweet?
Yeah.
Okay. So
which went viral on Twitter.
Yeah. So Warnock said basically, as is he a Baptist? I don't know what kind of reverend he is out of Georgia, but the tweet pretty much said that, we can't be saved by basically we can't be saved by Jesus Christ. We have to go out there and save ourselves by doing acts and goodness and all that kind of stuff. And that basically goes against everything that Christians believe in. Doesn't matter if you're what Protestant Catholic faith you are. We all believe that Jesus is the reason for Easter, his resurrection. That's how you're saved. And that's a dangerous slope. he's not just trying to change the narrative of what you think about the Constitution. He's going after what you think is right or wrong in your Christian beliefs. What makes you a Christian, down to the word Christ, Christian. And man, that's dangerous. That's dangerous.
I think to go to just to circle back a little bit, but I'm not going to draw the line. Obviously this is the Democrats are trying to grab power right now, or hold on to more. But I think it's the sickness that both sides are seeing, is that they're more interested in grabbing power. I honestly think that either side isn't as ideologically inclined as they want you to think they are. I think their main goal is to grab power and stay in power, and then they use these narratives to drum up support and to solidify that power. If the conservatives weren't and the Republicans weren't so hardcore about keeping everything exactly the way it is, and defending big business and stuff like that just leaves openings for the Democrats to do things on the extreme side as well, and garner the support. And I do agree. We don't want them to add things to members of the Supreme Court. We don't. If this was about balancing the court and making it fair, they'd be adding one Supreme Court every presidential term for the next 16 years instead of doing it all at once. So I think I can see it both ways, as far as, yeah, there's definitely some bluster, and they're definitely doing things to solidify their power, but their motivation to fundamentally change things, I don't know that I see it that way, as much as they're just trying to take control any way they can.
Well, Rick, so for how many years they've played off each other to keep power, and it sways one way, sways the other way. You don't see this as the ultimate power grab, where they're just going to say, hey, here's the time we can take advantage of Republicans now. They're weak, we're strong, we got control, and we want control forever.
I'm not going to say. I guess my point is that yes, they're trying to grab power, and they're trying to do it quickly and fast. But my point is that I don't think that people should be believing that when they get power that everything is going to be rosy, even if you're supporting them now. I don't think that
that's like, turn on the TV, man. Turn on the news. That's what they're told. Turn on your social media. Go to school. Go to college. That's what is being spoon fed to us. We said quick. It's been done over the course of the last 25 years. I think if you're looking between right, left, and for the culture of this country, man, it doesn't look good right now. I'd say that, yeah, I'm tending to think that the fight's almost over, and the left has won. I mean, on Easter, you have prominent Baptist preachers saying that you don't need Christ in order to be saved. That's a powerful statement. And then now we see we're truly, like, I mean, I think I had hoped that Joe Biden, there's a lot of things I did not really care for Donald Trump. I had some hope that Joe Biden would come in and it would be more like a Bill Clinton style, and even Barack Obama. We had some things that I didn't care for, but he did a lot of things that made sense, that were good for the country as well. But holy moly, guys, we're not even in this very long, and we seem to have the activist left of the government seems to be in complete and total control. I mean, I'll shut up. I'm sorry.
No, it's all right. I guess my point isn't so much that I think they are pushing these things, and that's how they're controlling and getting their support. But if you ask me honestly, if I think that Nancy Pelosi, Chuck Schumer, Joe Biden, Kamala Harris, Hillary Clinton, if they actually gave two flips about all these things that they're pushing and running and trying to get done, I don't think they care at all. If the winds turned and they could get more power the other way, they do it. That's my point, I guess.
Those are the people that have power.
But we have an empty suit right now in the White House too. So you named all those people. Are those really the power brokers behind that are running the show right now? We got people behind them running the show, and those are the people that are serious about the power and changing it. It's a George Soros, it's a Valerie Jarrett, it's those were the Obama people. They're probably still there, but
It's the Jeff Bezos, it's the Bill Gates, it's social media. You look at King, what's his name of Facebook, and King Twitter boy Jackie there as well. So it's scary.
I guess if that's what that we're saying is that those people aren't the ones who are actually in control, then we might as well just pack it up and get ready for the revolution, because what say do you have then, right? Like there's
I honestly, my heart of hearts, I don't think that that's a far-fetched statement that you just said there. I hope I'm wrong. I hope you're right, but I guess I tend to think more on Tyler's side of that. Something's going to go down.
An argument that Lexington and Concord have already happened and are happening tonight in the streets of our cities.
And it's scary. I mean, it's scary to think about. But people only be pushed so far. Like there's 74 million people that don't think the way of what's going on right now. And then they hear stuff
that are essentially about to be disenfranchised.
Right. 74 million people. And they're not even hiding behind it. Like today during that, the thing about packing the courts, they basically came out and said the courts are unfair because Trump did things wrong and put 3 people in there. We got to get the balance of power back. It would, they're so open about it. They weren't even hiding the fact of trying to sneak 4 court, new members in there. It's basically, they came out and said, yeah, Trump got 3. Now it's one way. So we got to get it back the other way. And the only way to fix it is to take this action. I mean, they're not even hiding anymore. That's my opinion on it.
And then you have the media as well as a propellant for this. CNN was just exposed by Project Veritas and James O'Keefe the other day over the last week. And he actually just got banned today on Twitter for basically promoting his research that he did, his sting operation, on CNN, where one of their head people came out and said, yeah, we're basically the propaganda arm of the left. And I'm paraphrasing that, but that's essentially what he said. So you got the media, on your side, you have academia on your side.
Casey, it's not like that's like a radical statement you made. I mean, that is essentially a fact. I mean,
right. Yeah, and they're agenda driven. They're agenda driven news anchors, right? But you don't really see a company like CNN or even Fox News, or pick your poison, come out and say typically, hey, we're propaganda for the right or the left. That doesn't happen, right? And they get to be a cable news organization and run 24 hours a day. So the radicalism is real, and it's a scary time. Like you said, Lexington, Concord. I think the extremes on both sides want that.
Yeah,
and that's something I do not want.
So. There's just so many people, I think, and so many groups caught up in the middle. Hey, because Casey, you said it right. These people who are rioting against the police, and some of these folks that are calling for the defund, they have legitimate claims. There is in some of these spots, throughout the whole country, there is racial injustice that does exist. Like there's no doubt about it. There's no doubt about that. There's periods of our history that we have treated minorities not very well. Absolutely, abhorrently. Like there's no doubt about it, and there's no doubt that we can continue to get better. But it seems to be there's this group that they don't want to just try to fix it; it's destroy it.
Yes,
and that's what we keep hearing. Literally, from your ambassador to the UN, went and just told China, North Korea, that we need to be more like them. That we are the bad guys. I don't know. I think that I wanted to give Joe Biden a chance, and I was hoping for the best, but man, tax policy, economy, culture, foreign policy, this is not looking like going to be a great 4 years.
No.
Hey, Rick, and you were talking about, you hope it's just a power thing and they don't really believe this. But if that's the case, do you think there's a point where they played their cards too far and there's no coming back from that? Trying to play to the woke and that power grab is just going to go too far?
Yeah, I mean, are you saying like could things move faster and go more of the direction that they're pushing people than they actually intended?
Right.
Sure, I think that's likely to happen. And maybe I'm not coming across the way I completely intend to here, but with this argument. But my thing is that, yeah, they're trying to do these things. They're trying to grab power. They're trying to change things. I still think that's a minority. They are in power. They do have the ability to change them. That's the scary part. I think if we get the push come to shove, I hope at least, is that, this isn't going to be, at some point, this isn't going to be a fight that's going to go down party lines, is my hope.
Well, yeah, I think you're completely wrong, and that's exactly what's going to happen. I mean, you look at what conservatives are labeled, right?
We had
a protest.
In the same room.
We had a protest with 100,000 people in Washington D.C. 100 of them, 400 of them, or whatever, assault the Capitol, and everybody's an insurrectionist right now. Every single one of you are an insurrectionist because maybe you believe in the freedom to protest. Maybe not vandalism, but you side with them and you voted for the racist Donald Trump. Look, right now, who's getting voted in to lead this country? It's the radicals on both sides. And we're going to continue to do more of this, right? We're going to continue to butt heads. And they're going to keep playing to the base. And the base is becoming more radical on each side. The left is attacking and burning cities, okay? Conservatives are arming. That's what we're doing. Are we going to fight? God, I hope not. I hope not. We don't want bloodshed, man. We need a unifying force. And there's nothing right now. And there's no politicians other than Joe Biden talking out of both sides of his ass saying we need unity right now. So
yeah, Keith, I think one thing you said a lot there, but I'll pick on one of them. So we're talking about Supreme Court. You add 4 Biden-appointed justices, bang, bang, bang. Talk about radicalizing the right. There's no coming together, right? Like, oh, I'm the president of everybody. Well, bull crap. You do that, like there's no coming together. And I think you just push another big chunk into the never Democrat. I feel like we just started. I think Casey said it correct. We're going opposite directions. And I think that divide is getting deeper and deeper and deeper.
It's become so much us versus them. My side wins versus your side wins. Not can we meet in the middle? And
not wins though. It's like I must dominate you now.
You got to be destroyed.
Power, so you must suffer and pay.
Yeah.
You must be destroyed. Yeah, and you see that on social media because they're controlling what you can and can't say, right? They're silencing opposition voices. And news organizations are cherry picking, and Fox News, whatever, they're just as guilty as the next organization. They are cherry picking who gets to say what, So this is not a slippery slope anymore, guys. We're hanging over the cliff onto twine, and the country hasn't in my lifetime never been this divided, and it's not. And we need real leadership on both sides to find common ground and step up and say, hey, we need to give the power back to the people. You anarchists can go straight to hell. And we need to find that discourse where we can talk to one another again. And it's not going to happen in the very near future. I'm just as guilty of it as maybe you guys are at times. I get extremely frustrated with the left. and I know they get extremely frustrated with me as well. So, but we got to learn to talk to each other again, because even family members and in my own family, we're falling apart because of politics.
Yeah.
And because of narratives being pushed that are half truths most of the time. So
there's no give and take anymore. There's no middle ground. There's no opening to other ideas. And I hope for the sake of the country and the sake of everything that Rick is right, and that there will be people to stand up when push comes to shove. And I hope the rest of us three are wrong. I just don't see that happening. At least when the left is in charge, because they go straight party line, like it's their life depends on it.
I agree, Rick. I hope it's just my faith right now tonight has just been damaged by kind of this news cycle, and that maybe my hope can be restored. But I echo John. I really hope you are. I hope you are right.
So so you guys, just the last question, and I don't even know if I need it answered, but if the Democrat down the street, because obviously there are people who vote Democrat even in conservative South Dakota, right? If that guy down the street was to see serious oppression or disenfranchisement, vilification of people just trying to live their lives, if they're not, there's no coming together to protect each other, even the guy that I see at the store every week. I don't know. Maybe I'm crazy.
I don't.
That's not happening in cities.
I was just say exactly.
Sure.
I think in rural that's happening, but in the cities it's not. I was just going to say the exact same thing, Casey.
I think.
I don't know, guys. Do I think
maybe Tyler won't? Maybe Tyler isn't going to pull over with the guy with an Obama 08 bumper sticker pulling over and helping him on the road. But will I? Sure. When I'm not being selfish. And I'm human. I'm going to make bad decisions, wrong decisions. But if I'm seeing somebody be vilified because of their political ideology, I'm going to stand shoulder to shoulder with them with my 45, and we're going to go to battle. So that is not who we are. That is an American, and I believe, at least where I live, that they would do the same for me. And but in cities right now, if you say you didn't vote Democrat, I'd be scared for my life. So
I don't think you could be a prominent member of the media, whether that be print or television or internet based. I don't think you could be in Hollywood. Some areas of government, and actually be a practicing vocal conservative. I don't think that. And I think if Casey was even in your town in Iowa, you're flying your don't tread on me flag, you've got your Trump sign or statue or whatever the heck you've got in your yard, and your next door neighbor, the head of the teachers union, and your house is on fire. I don't know.
Why would my house be on fire? I'm a good neighbor. I treat my neighbors very well, and I think at least in my town, and granted this is rural Iowa, everybody still talks to one another. Everybody still treats everybody with respect, and there is no respect what you're seeing on the media in the media right now. So I don't think somebody's gonna come and burn my house, somebody locally. It doesn't matter what flag I'm flying.
Look at the mask mandates. Look at mask mandates in South Dakota in this town. Look at how people treat people who don't wear a mask or who do. Again, then maybe I'm crazy. I don't know. I think you guys are wrong. I think we're, like I said before.
You think somebody's going to come burn your house down because you're not wearing a mask?
No.
Or you have a Trump
I didn't mean
flag?
they're going to start your house on fire. I mean, like if your house was on fire, I'm not sure that they're really rushing over. Yeah, they might be cracking a beer and like, oh, that guy's getting what he deserves.
Rick, what do you think on your own question? Or is that what you asking it? You're not sure.
No, I have to hope that those people would stand with me. Like I would stand with them if there was that true vilification.
Man, we just didn't do it though. We just went through COVID, where with multiple and look at transgender issues. You got, I don't think it's happening, fellas. I think we're seeing it right now
You
today.
think in South Dakota?
I don't think I know it. I mean, go to a grocery store.
Go to a grocery store in South Dakota if you don't wear a mask, which I was in South Dakota this winter. I did not wear a mask in the grocery store.
I'm saying you've got two different groups of people, pro
Sure.
and anti. And,
Sure.
and
it's the
those people aren't
20%.
necessarily coming together.
It's the 20% on each side that are
Yeah.
extreme, right? Saying, hey, they're either challenging you for wearing a mask or they're confronting other people and espousing their freedom of not wearing a mask. So I think majority, Tyler, especially in rural South Dakota, rural Iowa, that is not happening. And my neighbors will come to my home to help put out the fire or make sure we get out alive. So I'm still grabbing my guns. So that's what I do now.
This is probably the best, probably last half hour of conversation that we've had on the Phat Dad podcast. We might just have to cut this section out of this episode 7 and just make it its own and maybe continue on it. Cause I think this is what the conversation that people want to hear and they need to hear. And maybe they need some hope and maybe we're not giving them that right now, but it's real. The conversation is real and it needs to happen. And we need to get back talking to each other. We need our core values and beliefs to be back centered around family and faith and not government. That's eroding away. We need to not kill each other and not treat each other badly because that's not what we're supposed to do to each other. And that's not how we're supposed to have our values instead of, hey, the only thing we have is we don't kill somebody because the government tells us not to and they police it. Because if that's what we get to, all bets are off.
I guess I'm going to put a challenge out there to Tyler, who I love to argue and debate with. What's the answer? You're talking radical judges being appointed Supreme Court nominations. You're looking at a militarized left, a brown shirt, so to speak, left, radical left. You're looking at defunding of the police. You're looking at fundamentally changing our Constitution, the amendments. What's the answer? What do you do?
John said it just a minute ago. And we might have already lost the fight where the moral compass is that we normally or we used to have is changed considerably. More faith is put in the government than in spirituality. And I think that's a dangerous thing. I think it's slowly happened over time, but I think we are reaping what we've sowed. And I don't know. Hopefully you guys are right that
you didn't answer the question. What do you do? I mean, I know what's happening. We all know what's happening. What do you do? How do you combat it?
I think he said it's too late. I think he said there's nothing to do. It's over. The fat lady has sung.
There's always
Get
something
used to a new way of doing things.
You spread the message, right? You spread the message, and you do what Dr. Martin Luther King did. You go out there, you be nonviolent, and you talk about, and you force people to see your side without being violent. That's what you do. You unite.
Let me answer your question, Casey. What do you do? Yeah, and I think that's what sort of the core group or why we do this silly show is we train up the next generation and we reinstill in them core values of doing the right thing, of hard work, of loving your neighbor, regardless of their political views, or whatever, whatever their views are, if they're different than you are, love thy neighbor. And I think that's how we do it. That's what we do. But I think I don't think this is crazy. If you get 4 Supreme Justice in a DC and a Puerto Rico, yeah, you're going to be living under liberal rules and laws. And it's going to take a while in order to shift those views, the Republican Party will have to reinvent itself, probably come more towards the center, encompass more votes that way. But it's probably going to take a little bit of time. And I think that's where we're starting to hear this dialogue too, on the right. Like, you got to start looking at school choice and fighting over those type of things that matter. And we're probably going to have to stop fighting over things that aren't going to matter, or that, we're going to have to pick the hills that we want to die on, politically speaking. And I think school choice and being able to educate the next generation is going to be important.
So is the generation after the greatest generation going to go back down as the worst generation?
I don't know. Time will tell. I just think it's crazy. Like, I look at the economic policy, whether you hate Donald Trump for Donald Trump, who he was, the economy was very good up until COVID. But I don't think, like, if I think of our economy was weak going into COVID, there's plenty of examples around the world that you can look at. God help us where we'd be. I don't think we're in great shape anyways. And we've talked about it. We spent like $6 trillion just trying to keep ourselves afloat. There's a price to pay for that. And one day that bill will come due. And now we're going back to the philosophy of limited growth, more government spending trillions and trillions and trillions more. I've never seen that work very well. I don't have an example in history of that being a successful long-term model. To me, what we were doing of increasing business, everybody was, all ships were rising.
20s and 20s through 40s. Come on, Tyler. FDR, man, he saved us. 20s and 40s. I mean, you can think of all the funding federal programs.
Drug it out, and World War II saved us.
Yeah.
Yes. But the left would say otherwise, right? Because he's one of the greatest presidents ever lived. And anyway, sorry.
Don't discount the man. He did. Yeah. He did what needed to be done during a crisis and led us through World War II. That's no small feat.
No.
But I mean, was he an economic genius? I don't think so. I
mean, we struggled for 20 years, right? As a country, people suffered 25% unemployment for 20 years, essentially. So, but yes.
The industrial might of the entire world being destroyed outside of the United States of America might have played a part in our rise to greatness and fixing our economy. I might just be a fat idiot.
Tyler, you're saying we just need another good war, and it all solve itself. We just need another war. You heard it here. Warmongering. Talked about it earlier. He's on the side of war. Yeah, we better wrap it up because I'm going to be up till midnight thinking about what we all discussed anyway. So this has been our longest show. I think really, really thanks, Tyler, for running it. Really, really good topics. I'll see you on YouTube if we break this down into a couple of parts because I think the end was really good. So,
and I look forward to being part of your This Week in Cancel Culture next week, John.
Okay. Yeah.
I'll tell you what, I was coming into tonight. It was, opinionated and ready to talk this about, but now after getting it laid out there, I'm kind of depressed.
I'll take my Prozac again next time I do this. I'm sorry, Rick.
Well, we're not going to give the first word to Rick to close out the show. Maybe we'll give him the middle or the last. Casey, you're back after a couple weeks off. What do you? Yes. Give us your minute end of the show opinion and maybe try to give a little positive spin.
Sure. Treat your neighbors well. Treat your group well. Your people well. At the end of the day, those are the people who matter and who have a direct impact on your life. And then also get involved in local politics and follow that and stand for something, right or left, I guess, and listen to what other people have to say. And I fail at it every day, and so does everybody else. But there is still hope. And I'm not saying still hope like, we're hanging on a thread like the Jedi were, I'm talking about there's actual real hope and there's some real tangible things that can unite us and bring us together. And that day is probably a little ways out. Yeah. But I'm going to stick to it. I'm gonna still treat my neighbors good, still be thankful for what I have, treat my family good, treat my friends good, and and then hopefully later this week I get to go out and shoot off some of my brand new F1 AR-15 pistol. I said it on the internet, so it's true, and I get to go act and be real freedom loving here maybe towards the end of the week. So that's all I got.
Tyler, what do you got?
Oh, if I can't be a Debbie Downer anymore?
Nope, you got to be positive.
Nah, do what you want. Be real.
No, I'm hopefully, one thing we didn't talk about, 100 members of the U.S. House of Representatives co-sponsored a bill to keep the 9 today, keep the 9 Supreme Court justices. So there is strong opposition to this, and hopefully, as a nation, we can convalesce around common sense politics and policies, and we can be get back to being that shining city on the hill. It's there, as Casey said. We just need to find our Skywalker and right the ship. But all in all, I think the things that are important are your family and your friends, and I am very grateful for you three and be able to come in there and sometimes we get to debate this out. It's sort of like a debate. In our prep work, we pick different sides on what we want to talk about here. And some of it does just is off the cuff, as you can probably tell. But this is a fun conversation, fun debate, and I wish more people were open to have this type of dialogue and hear folks out. I think it's good for the nation.
All right, Rick.
First off, if we're living in a world where I'm the optimistic view, we're in trouble.
I've lost.
but like I said, I just gotta hope that when push comes to shove, your neighbors, your people that you see every day, they're not gonna just toss you to the side, because if that's what happens, the social contract that we live under is gone, and if there's no social contract, there's no society, and at that point, what point is a country or government if there's no society to live under? So that's my hope, and I'm gonna go have a few drinks.
Yeah,
I feel like I became episode 3, where I just got to exile because no more optimism.
Yeah, no, I mean, we're getting through COVID. Good things are going to happen through COVID. I think I'm closer to a lot of good friends than I've ever been before, closer to a lot of my family members than I ever have been before. Maybe COVID got us away from some of the things that don't matter as much in life, sports and all that stuff. And, just being better people. And, I think we've made some new relationships. We've made some things, and hopefully people have some holes in their lives with COVID that, they can find some good things to fill it with, whether that's spiritually, whether that's friends, whether just being neighborly and good people like we talked about. So, that's what I'm going to hope for. I'm going to hope for the best. But yeah, like I said, treat your people right. You can only change what's in your circle. Your outer circle, a lot of that you can't change. So don't spend a lot of time changing that circle. And I think if we all get back to our little circle, it's going to help the big circle in the end, and we'll get through it. So thanks everybody for another good podcast, episode number 7. We'll be back in a couple of weeks. Hopefully we had a good trip down to Florida that time, and I am burnt to a crisp on top of this newly bald head. So we'll catch you guys back after that. Thanks for listening. Appreciate you. Thanks, Casey. Thanks, Tyler. Thanks, Rick. Enjoyed it. And we'll see you next time.